Hi everyone and welcome to this video about isometric art in Illustrator, where I will explain in depth how to set up your artboard, a few techniques on how to create your isometric art, and how to get over some issues such as joining curves. At the end I will also show you a few sources where you can learn more from. But firstly, let me show you some isometric drawings, I made for a company called SMS Factor. Here you can get an idea on how the chosen method will affect your drawing. Using gradients and 3D is more time consuming, but offers a lot of detail, especially thanks to the lights and the shadows, whereas flat colors don't show that much detail, which depending on the use of your drawing, like for advertising for instance, isn't something that's bad. Once you open Illustrator, make sure Snap to Point is checked. My software is set to French, but you'll find it at the same place. Also, make sure Snap to Grid is unchecked. Know we have to make our isometric grid. So take your rectangular grid tool and click once on your artboard. The number of dividers depends on the complexity of your project. I usually go from 50 up to 100. Make sure to have the same number of dividers horizontally and vertically. Alright, now center your grid and scale it up accordingly to your artboard. Then go to Object, Transform, Scale. Choose the second option to set an individual value of 86.602% for vertical size. Then go to Object once again, warp 30 degrees, go to Object once again, promise this is the last time, transform, rotate minus 30 degrees. Select your grid, go to Guides and make guides. Now go to your layers panel, lock the guides, and start drawing on a new layer. You are ready. Alright, let's start with the basics before jumping into more advanced techniques. When you draw on an isometric grid, always respect the symmetry and use the grid points to snap your design. Use different tints of the same color to make it look 3D, and always use the same direction for your lights and shadow. When you draw a curve, always hold Shift to restrict the angle in order to achieve symmetry. This will be the basic way to draw isometric art. However, sometimes you need to create a flat element first and then set it in an isometric perspective. For this method, let's use a simple example, such as a white dot in a red square. Just as we did for the isometric grid, go to Object and warp 30 degrees. Then go to Object again and rotate 30 degrees. If you wish to change the perspective, use warp and rotate, but switch the minus. Now, let's say I want to add some dimension into this. Let's make sure my design fits the grid and then duplicate another one. Draw the sides and adjust the colors. Let's move on to the third way of creating an isometric drawing in Illustrator. We'll use the same red square and white dots, but this time go to 3D. Classic 3D, extrude and bevel, and choose one of the isometric angles, adjust the extrusion depth. You can now play with the other options as well, and I will explain how to use symbols in a moment. I found no one else on YouTube explaining the curve issue and how to deal with it, but we'll cover 3 techniques to make it easier. First, let's understand what I'm talking about. If you are using the warp and rotate method, you'll notice that the angles will be sometimes off and not really symmetrical. After applying the transform effects, the angle radius is not that symmetrical anymore. This is normal. However, I prefer to handle things manually. The trick here is to first set your square and then curve the angles equally using references from the grid. Now, next thing is, how do you join those curves? Well, once again, there are several ways. I'll show you 3 of them, depending on what look you're trying to achieve. The first one is the less precise and works well if the lower surface does not have to be the same as the one above, like for the shape of a laptop, for instance. Grab 2 points from the underlying shape and place them on the anchor point above. Then only select one anchor point and pull the angle using the grid as a reference. For the next technique, I will simply use a shape gradient, very cool tool for isometric design. You can build a lot with it. For your 2 shapes, use your shape gradient tool. If you don't get good results, double click on the gradient tool and set it to steps and increase the number of steps. What if you don't want the gradient curl to be in there? No problem. Just make sure to copy the top side and then give your shape gradients the same colors on both top and downside. You can even take it a step further by decomposing your shape gradients and using the pathfinder. This way you will end up with one single shape where you can apply effects and gradients. For the third method, we are going to use 3D again. Draw your square with corners, go to 3D, classic 3D, extrude and bevel, choose an angle, and then decompose your shape. You can play with the pathfinder and bring some of the shapes together, or even all of them, depending on which look you're going to for. Move on to the next trick, which will help you build special effects. We'll name it the symbol trick. I don't really know what to call it. First of all, you will need to build a symbol. Then drag it into the symbols panel. Draw a new shape. Here I'm going with circle because I want a cylinder when it will be extruded. Use a classic 3D and then apply the symbol. Play with the options to your liking. You can try several options and see what fits best to your needs. Maybe you are asking yourself why I don't use regular 3D. Well, sometimes I do, but if your computer, but your computer will slow down if you're using too much 3D in your project. Furthermore, applying symbols is kind of a struggle with the regular 3D, and the light settings are not easy to match to the rest of your design unless you're going for regular 3D in the wall design. Stay coherent, but yeah, that's gonna slow down your computer. So next lesson, shadows. For shadows, you can play with gradients. Remember to always use the same direction and keep your design consistent, coherent. You can also play with drop shadows or blur or even solid colors, which reduce opacity. I prefer gradients. That's the way I do things because it has detail but not too much, which is enough for me. Lights. What about the opposite? I mean lights. Well, the same techniques apply. I think gradients work best. However, you can use blur and inner outer glow to make it seem more realistic. What about reflections? Let's quickly draw a phone. I'm going to use the draw inside mode to draw two white rectangles and play with their opacity. You can also play with the blending modes, which I didn't do, and once again you can add blur for realism. Regarding organic shapes, they are the hardest ones to draw. I mean, like animals, humans, plants, that's really a struggle. I leave a link in the description to the IBM website. Art Tutor's channel. He's really good at drawing isometric humans and animals, robots, all of that stuff, but doesn't talk in his videos, which I think, yeah, that's a shame. These videos could really, really better. You can also head to FreePix's website and download a free EPS or AI file and look at how other people make their art, each layer at a time. If you want to see me struggle with an isometric human, I will show this at the end of the video, but I mainly use two methods to draw organic shapes, the pencil tool and the rectangular shape tool. You will see how hard I'm struggling with this, but eventually I can get that guy done better. I'll be honest, in some of my projects, I don't have the time to draw humans, so I use stock vectors. Once I've done the design that's custom made for the client, you can then import some elements just to make the process faster. To draw complex shapes like this loudspeaker, you need to use your imagination and think about how your object will be built in 3D. You can make several little pieces of 3D and put them together. That's what I've done here. The pathfinder process will require a lot of time if your shape gets very complex. Usually it doesn't take that much time on my computer, but here I was really struggling because I forgot one step when recording, and I'm sorry I didn't catch up for that. But once you made your 3D shape and then you decompose it, first simplify the path. So you go to Object, Path, Simplify, in order to have less points, and then it's easier to use the Pathfinder and the shape and other tools. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comment sections if you know some other great sources to learn more about isometric art in Illustrator. I'm really struggling with humans and I would like to learn more about it, but I'm lacking a bit of time. Also, tell me if you want me to cover an entire isometric illustration in a future video. Maybe I'll even make a video about how to find inspiration using Midjourney, because Midjourney handles isometric illustrations pretty well if you're looking for something to build. Well, anyway, see you soon and design out of the box.